The prophecy says the 7 seals hold the power to change the world. And at sisterhoodsleuths.net, your own relics are waiting. Free books that put you on the trail. VIP access to Cathy Warshaw, your direct link to the source of the story. Rare collectibles and artifacts you can hold in your hands, from exclusive merch to immersive experiences. Welcome to the Sisterhood Sleuths podcast. Today we open the Land of Promise, where sisters Chloe and Lily race across the Holy Land to find 7 ancient artifacts before a secret society rewrites history itself. It's part Dan Brown, part Rick Riordan, all heart-pounding mystery, and the clock is already ticking.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something that really makes you think about history, about truth, and what might be hidden just beneath the surface. So imagine this. What if the real story of our past isn't actually gone, just hidden? And what if unlocking it all came down to secrets buried deep under one of the most, sacred cities on Earth? That's the premise that really pulled us into today's source material. It's a novel called The Land of Promise, The 7 Seals by Cathy Warshaw. And our mission today, it isn't just to, summarize the book. We want to get into it, explore what makes it tick, find those little insights and the deeper beauty hidden in its pages. Because this book, it's more than just an adventure. It's like this collision point, right? Where we've got ancient history meeting prophecy, meeting sheer human will. So let's dig into what makes this one feel, special.
Yeah, what's really striking about The Land of Promise, The 7 Seals, right from the start, is how it frames itself. It's not just presented as a story. The description calls it a question mark carved into history, waiting for someone bold enough to answer. And that's not just like fancy marketing talk. It really signals something different. It's asking you, the reader, to think about history not as some dusty old record, but as something active, maybe even alive.
Okay, a question mark carved into history. That sounds intriguing. What does that actually mean in the context of the book? Is it like challenging the official version of events, or is it more personal for the characters? How does that make it a new kind of historical thriller, as you mentioned?
It's actually both, and that's what gives it that unique spark, I think, the question mark idea. It points to the book's pretty bold premise that maybe major historical events aren't what we think they are. That there are these hidden layers, almost spiritual dimensions to history we haven't uncovered. Most thrillers, they just use history as, a cool setting. This book suggests that the act of searching for truth, it could actually change things. Reality itself, it weaves together really solid research like details you wouldn't normally find with some big imaginative jumps. So it feels grounded and kind of mystical at the same time. For instance, the 7 Seals prophecy. Warshaw treats it not just as like the end of the world, but maybe as metaphors. Keys to unlock historical knowledge that could completely flip our understanding of today.
That's a really interesting angle on something familiar. So how does this big idea, this question mark, turn into a story that actually, grabs you and doesn't let go? What's the actual plot that carries this weight?
Well, it basically throws you head first into this incredibly high-stakes situation. Imagine being deep in these ancient tunnels under Jerusalem. There's all this biblical intrigue swirling around, and there's a clock ticking down fast. That urgency is what drives the whole thing forward. Every secret they uncover feels like it could change everything instantly, maybe even catastrophically.
Right, and caught in the middle of all this are these 2 sisters, Chloe and Lily. They seem pretty normal at the start, right?
Yeah.
Just living their lives. You kind of wonder, how do ordinary people even get tangled up in something this huge?
Exactly, and that's where Dr. Rachel Levine comes in. She's this brilliant archaeologist, but she's also really enigmatic, definitely has her own secrets. She's the one who recruits Chloe and Lily, pulls them, and this team she puts together, the book, calls them sleuths, into this mystery that's just way bigger than anything they could have imagined. So that classic feel, ordinary people in extraordinary danger. But with all these added layers of history and, maybe something more.
And the goal, the big prize everyone's after, is finding these 7 seals. You said they aren't just myths in the book. The story treats them as real things.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just symbols from the Bible. The book makes a really convincing case that they're actual physical artifacts tied to this ancient prophecy holding immense power, and they're scattered across the Holy Land, just waiting. And the stakes are, they're immense. Whoever gets those seals first could literally reshape history, or at least the history we think we know.
But it wouldn't be much of a thriller without someone else wanting them too, right? There's an antagonist.
Oh yeah, a really formidable one, says the society. Very clandestine, moves in the shadows, super efficient, chillingly so.
And what do they want? Just power.
Their goal is Pretty scary, actually. They want to remake history, not just understand it, but rewrite it to match their vision for the future.
Right.
And they don't care what it costs. As Chloe and Lily dig deeper, they start uncovering this conspiracy that's like centuries old. And it reaches right into the top levels of power. It makes you question everything.
Wow. And the places they go. It sounds like a tour of some incredibly significant sites.
Totally. The journey itself is amazing. They're searching through tunnels under the Western Wall, the Dome of the Rock, these hidden chambers nobody's seen for ages, even the Sea of Galilee. And these aren't just pretty backdrops. Each location feels loaded with meaning and usually danger, too.
It sounds like the research must have been pretty intense to make those places feel real.
That's where you really see the meticulous research part shine. The way the book describes these ancient sites, the history, even the archaeology stuff, it's so detailed. Like, it might describe the exact layout of a forgotten crypt or how these ancient water systems under Jerusalem worked. It makes the whole quest feel incredibly tangible, almost like it could happen. It really elevates the genre, I think. History isn't just setting, it's almost a character in itself.
But it's not just about dodging traps and bad guys, is it? You mentioned other challenges.
No, definitely not. Some of the biggest hurdles are personal. There are betrayals within their own team, which really test trust. And they face these really tough moral choices where the line between right and wrong gets incredibly blurry. It's not just a chase. It really puts the characters through the ringer.
Okay, so that leads us perfectly into the deeper stuff. Beyond the action and the secrets, what makes The Land of Promise feel like a truly human story? What are those underlying themes?
Yeah, this is what gets really interesting, I think. Because the book does manage to balance these deeper human questions with all that fast-paced action. It's quite a feat. One huge theme is the bond between the sisters, Chloe and Lily. Their relationship is central. And tied into that is the whole idea of sacrifice. What are you willing to give up for someone you love? Or for a cause you believe in? It shows how hardship can make bonds stronger, but also, test them right to the limit. And then there's the whole journey of identity. What happens when you find out everything you thought you knew about history, about your own family might be wrong? It explores the courage that takes to question your fundamental beliefs. Imagine that kind of psychological shock. The book really puts its characters and kind of the reader too in a position where they have to confront their core assumptions about the world.
That idea of questioning everything, that's powerful. How does it handle that classic tension between, say, faith and doubt? Or science versus mystery, because those often clash in stories like this.
Right, and the book doesn't really shy away from that tension at all. You've got Dr. Levine with her scientific archaeological methods right alongside these ancient prophecies and the, almost mystical nature of the seals. It creates this really interesting intellectual friction. Do you trust the hard evidence or do you listen to the whispers from the past? The characters grapple with that constantly. It feels very human, that struggle. And underpinning it all is that massive question about rewriting history. Even if you could change the past, should you? What happens next? What are the consequences you can't foresee?
Okay, so these are big, meaty questions. Why should someone reading this or listening to us now, why should you care about exploring these complex ideas through, a thriller novel? What's the connection?
Because these aren't just abstract philosophical points, right? They're universal struggles dressed up in a really exciting story that search for who you are, figuring out what's true, finding the guts to stand up for something. We all deal with that. Maybe not with ancient seals, but in our own lives. The book uses this amazing adventure to make you ponder these big ideas without it ever feeling heavy or preachy. You experience the dilemmas with the characters. It makes you think about your own relationship with truth and history. It makes the abstract feel really personal.
And it's interesting, the source material mentions comparisons to other well-known books, which kind of highlights its appeal. You can see echoes of Dan Brown, definitely, that puzzle-solving historical mystery element.
Oh, for sure. That intricate plotting, the clues hidden in history, it's got that addictive quality. But then it also has the heart and the sort of accessible heroism you might find in something like Percy Jackson. Young heroes thrown into this world where myths are suddenly very real, facing huge tasks that need bravery and teamwork. It makes it connect with maybe a younger audience too, or anyone who loves that kind of adventure.
And you mentioned the Alex Rider comparison too, that sense of international intrigue, shadowy groups, maybe some high-tech elements mixed in. Keeps you guessing.
Exactly, that edge of your seat pacing. But then, and this is maybe the surprising part for a thriller, it also touches on the kind of emotional depth you might find in, say, the book thief. It doesn't ignore the human cost of all this conflict, the sacrifices, the emotional toll of facing hard truths. So yeah, that mix really shows how it blends genres. It's not just one thing. That's probably why they call it a new kind of historical thriller. It doesn't fit neatly in a box.
So let's try and pull all these threads together then. What's the lasting impact? What's the real beauty, maybe, in exploring these ideas through this specific story?
I think the beauty, the core message that really sticks with you, comes down to that idea. The past never truly disappears. That's not just a plot device. It feels like a deeper statement about truth, about memory, about how actions always have consequences, even centuries later. It taps into that very human urge to find the truth, even when it's buried deep. And maybe more importantly, it highlights the courage it takes to open those doors. Because once you know something, once a hidden truth is revealed, you can't unknow it. It changes you. So the real beauty of The Land of Promise, I think, is how it invites you, the reader, to see history not as static, but as this living thing, full of unanswered questions. It encourages you to think about what those answers might mean, not just for the characters, but for us. It's an intellectual adventure as much as a physical one. It's really about finding that courage inside yourself, maybe, to question things, to confront hidden truths, whether they're in ancient text or just in your own understanding of the world.
That's a really powerful takeaway. So just to wrap up our deep dive today, The Land of Promise, The Seven Seals by Cathy Warshaw sounds like much more than just a page-turner. It cleverly weaves together thrilling adventure with some genuinely deep human themes. It challenges you, the reader, to think about history, truth, and the choices we make when faced with difficult knowledge. It really is an invitation to wrestle with some pretty big questions. And maybe a final thought to leave you with, building on that question mark carved into history idea. Perhaps the biggest adventures aren't always about finding treasure in hidden tunnels. Maybe the real adventure is finding the courage to face the questions those discoveries raise inside us. Figuring out what those truths mean for who we are and who we decide to be. Sometimes the deepest dives are the ones that lead inward. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparked your curiosity, maybe even enough to pick up The Land of Promise, The Seven Seals, and experience it yourself. Until next time, keep digging.
History's greatest secrets don't wait, and neither should you. Go to sisterhoodsleuths.net now, claim your free books, secure your VIP access, and collect the rare relics that bring The Land of Promise to life. The countdown has started. Make sure you're on the right side of history when the final seal breaks.